Hey friends, it's Nicole, and I'm here to show you some kind of hacks to use with the new envelope and bow creator from Creative Memories. I will, at the end of the video, show you how to make the envelope and the bow, but I think there's going to be a lot of videos out there demonstrating this. Creative Memories has a great video, and it's pretty intuitive if you follow the directions, but I've been playing with it, and I've come up with some other kind of border ideas that you can do with it. I've been feeling like it's a lot of fun. So let's just jump right in and talk about this tool. This is the envelope and bow creator. And basically what it has is a punch that cuts notches or the corners and then some angles to help you create these envelopes. But the thing that I'm going to play with right today is this notch punch. So this is kind of like our the corner rounder. Well, the top piece definitely is like the corner rounder. This is kind of a reverse side of it. And when we do the envelope, you'll see it. But there's some fun things that we can do using the, just using this piece of the punch. So the first thing I'm going to show you, the kind of the easiest way is if you have a paper that has a stripe on it. So I'm going to pull out from the Party Time Bright. This is the newly re-released paper pack, Party Time Bright. This green paper here has a stripe on one side and a triangle solid green on the other side. But we're going to use the stripe side. And on this tool, on the punch, there's these two little kind of wings that come out and a center line. And that's what you're going to need to look at when you're trying to figure out where you're going to be punching. So you kind of have to play with it with different papers. I'm going to start here. I think I'm going to start on the edge. I'm going to line up the edge of my paper. Let's see. Let's come down a little bit more. I'm going to line up the edge of my paper with this line right here. Let's see. Is that too close? I don't know. It might be too close. So, but the problem is right here, like there's nothing to brace it against. So you kind of have to be real careful lining it up just to make sure that it's straight. So we're going to do that. And then I want the next notch to be, let's do this second line. So we'll do every third line. And again, I'm trying to brace it up against the fence. So this one I'm trying every third line. I think that's giving me kind of a cool little border with every third line. And it's super easy because my paper already has the lines on it. All right, every third line. I guess I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing. And of course, you'll get a little bit of a different look depending on the thickness of your line. So we'll play this with a couple of different papers just to see. So this is, all right, not quite going to work just because I don't have a third line here. And I don't know how that will work, but okay. So that didn't work right on the end, but I think that makes a fun wavy border. You see, it's not quite a sharp border. It's kind of a little bit of a wavy border. And if we change the width of which lines we cut from, we're going to get a little bit of a different look. So we'll cut that one off. And so that was every third. If we do closer, instead of getting this wave at the top, you're going to get more of a point. So let's, again, we'll use the stripe side. We'll start with the, actually I'm going to start on one stripe in and see what that does as far as giving me a centered piece. And then instead of skipping 3 lines, I'm just going to skip to the 2. So on this one, I'm going to be putting the white line on the left and the green line on the right. And we'll be going across. And this one is giving me more of a point. A pointy line. Probably can just push it with my hand. I always like to punch with the heel of my hand, but it punches quite easily even with the pile of little punch confetti that's building up underneath. So this is kind of the point. And again, this just depends kind of on the lines that you're using. I went through a bunch of our current paper packs and looked at the things that have lines. I swear we have one that had grids, but the only one I could find that had a grid was from It's Fall, Y'all. And I don't know if that still exists, if that one's still available or not. But I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But okay, so here's the one where I punched them together a little bit closer. And you can see you get more of a point. It's still the kind of the curve on the inside, but the top is pointed. So those are two very different looks that you get. This one I should have played with a little bit more because I cut it too close and curved off that end. I should have just left alone. But so this is the one where I did every third line, and this is the one where I did every second line. Okay, so you can also do, you can take your paper. Let's do this at, let's cut it at 1.5 inches. Oh, sorry. Now I'm way too close, aren't I? We're going to cut this at 1.5 inches. So I have an 1.5 inch wide piece of paper. And I'm going to fold this in half. And again, I want to fold it with the lines to the outside. Actually, this would have been a good time for me to use the scoring blade on my trimmer to get that crease down the middle. But what I can do is I can use the new bone folder. So I'll pull out this fun new bone folder. Oops, I want my lines to match, my sides to match up. All right. Bone folder. Okay. And this this is going to make a crease in my paper, but when I'm done with it, we're not going to, you're not going to see that. It vanishes as you make your paper bigger. But we're going to do the same thing, and this time I'm going to punch on the folded side on purpose. And let's start again. I'll start here on the second line, and this time I'm going to go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I like the way this looks. Gives me 2. Okay, punching through 2, I do feel like I need, oh, sorry, little guy. I do feel like I need to push with the heel of my hand. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now that one actually came out pretty centered. Okay, so this by itself also makes a fun little border. This looks like kind of a circus tent. But because we punched on the fold, and when we open it up, we have this fun kind of peekaboo design that you could use as a border with maybe a small little sticker or something in here. Okay, now we're too close, sorry. Like a little sticker. This could be a fun border. You could do also the stripe. That's a little bit busy. But, just gives you some variety. And of course, depending on how far apart you position these, you would also get a very different look with these two pieces, depending on how far you stretch them out. Okay, so, but what happens if you want to cut a paper that doesn't have a stripe? So I did pull some papers that have stripes. The It's Fall, Y'all has the grid. So, if the grid gives you lots of options because it's small. Sparks of Magic has some nice grid and stripe patterns you could use. Jazzberry has this kind of, I call it the Epcot paper. That also has a nice grid, would make it super easy. But sometimes you might want to cut a paper that doesn't have a design. So let's say I want to cut this floral paper. Actually, I don't think that would be a good choice. Let's see. I do love the pink. So let's pretend I want to cut this one. This Flower and Speckle from Jazzberry. Okay, this doesn't have any kind of a grid that I can help position, and there's no ruler on here. There's no place for me to position a ruler to line it up. I tried playing with my zero centering ruler, and it didn't work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, you could use some of the grid paper. You could use regular old grid paper. When I first tried this, I just have this piece of graph paper that I've probably had for 50 years, copyright 2012. I mean, so I've had this, I love graph paper. I always have graph paper around. So I tried some with the graph paper, but then I remembered that our back to school paper has a ruler paper in the pack. And I've wondered what I would do with this particular ruler paper. And I think that it's going to work great. I haven't actually tried it with this yet. I tried it with the graph paper, and I tried it with some lined paper. What I want is the measurements to go this way on the trimmer so I can measure against them, which means I need to cut this way. And I'm going to cut, let's see, 5. I think we're going to cut at about 5 inches. I think actually let's do 4.5. I think we can do 4.5 inches. We're going to cut along the same direction as this grid. And my first time through, I messed up. So we're going to cut right here with this grid. And then you need to take this paper and flip it over so that we get the angle in the right direction, and put it along this line, line up the point with the cutting line here. And we're going to cut this piece off. Okay, so now what that's going to give us is a little template that we can put here on our punch board that kind of still goes off a little bit. That's going to allow us to measure. So I'm just going to take a piece of washi tape, a couple pieces of washi tape. I'm going to tape one right here. I'm going to tape one right here. Tape one here. And now what I can do is when I want to do this punch, I can use these measurements, and I'm going to use those 1/2 inch lines again, but you could use a 1/4 inch line. You could, if you wanted to, go through and, you know, mark the numbers, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start here. I'm going to, again, start on the line, on the edge of my paper on the line. And let's try this at, well, I didn't get it straight here. This is at about 1/4 inch. So if I do, okay. 1/4 inch. So basically I'm doing 1 inch increments. You know what I should have done is, you guys, I should have lined this up better. All right, so I'm getting that same look without having to have lines on my paper. So I think I'm going to move this. I'm super tempted to like edit my video and pretend I didn't make a mistake, but well, let's not do that. What I want to do is have the line here that is centered line up with one of my measurement lines. So I'll just grab a piece of Post-it note and put that in, because that's going to show me right where that line is. And then I'm going to adjust this. Now I guess I'll go down so that the line here lines up with one of those 1/2 inch marks. Okay. So there, that's going to be better. That's going to work better. Let's try this again. Actually, I'll just trim off a piece. Wait. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. And you do need to kind of work in this direction. I mean, I guess you can work in that direction too, but you don't have the measurement lines clear back over here. Even though I tried to keep that at 12 inches. I'm not sure. I guess because it doesn't line up there. So sorry if you are a lefty and you like to work the other direction, but I'm going to line this up again, starting with the side, and then I'm going to go 1 inch. And I can just line it up against the fence right here. It's lining up pretty straight. Okay, this was here, so that's another inch. Let's see if we can go all the way to the end, or if I'm going to not have enough width on here. I think I'll be all right, because I think it's going to go all the way to 12 inches. All right, so you just see how I'm using these markings to line it up. This puts a ruler on here for me. But if you don't have this ruler paper, it's okay. I'll do it again in a minute with some grid paper, just so you can see the same effect. And it's actually maybe a little bit easier with the grid paper because it's not as directional. You could also use the ruled paper. That's going to give you the same with the lines. You just need these vertical lines to line your paper up with. And you see how here I'm lining it up. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do this last little bit. Oh, look at that. The point is right here aligning with this when I do the 1 inch. So I can just do that, because I didn't even need to put the whole ruler paper down for this particular size difference. All right, so there's this paper. Now I've cut that same border, and you get a different look just depending on how wide the spacing is. Okay, so that's using this ruler paper from Back to School. But let's try something different. Let's try the lined paper. I'm just kind of experimenting with some of these little hacks. We'll try the lined paper. And this is great paper to have in your stash for doing journaling with. So I have always go through lots of this lined paper, and when I cut this and have an extra scrap piece, I won't be sorry, because I'll be able to use it, even that part that I just wrinkled cutting out. Okay, so let's try again. We're going to go to, I'll do 5. I did 4.5 last time. I'm going to do 5 inches this time. We'll try 5 inch. Nope, I want to go this way. Cut across the lines. Don't cut perpendicular to these lines. Cut across the lines. I'm cutting it 5 inches, and then I'm going to flip it over again to get the angle right. Flip it over so on the back to cut this off. Actually, I'm not even going to go all the way to the point. I'm going to leave a little space, because it doesn't need to be a point. I just need the angle. All right, and if this feels like a much sharper angle than when I look at the punch board, it doesn't feel like it's that sharp. But sure enough, when I get here, it's that same angle. And again, what I want to do, which I forgot to do the last time, is to line up the Post-it note seems to be working real well for this. To line up this center line on the punch with one of these lines, just to make measuring easier. But I don't want this to go off the edge, so let's see if we come down to here. That looks pretty lined up. You can put one here. And if that pokes off over the edge, you know, that's all right. Just enough to keep this little guy from sliding around. And that's going to give us that that spacing that we need. And I think this time I'll go a little bit farther. And I'm not going to start on the edge. This time I'm going to start, I don't even know what the spacing of these lines are. Let's call this, we're going to go 3 lines in and start. All right, and then I'm going to go move over 3 more lines. Three more lines. That's about the same, so that must be about 1 inch. Okay, the next one I'm going to go 4 lines just to see what kind of a different look it gives us. 4 lines. 4 lines. 4 lines. Now I am going to run out of paper here to keep doing my 4-line measurement, so that's a little tricky. I was going to take, where's the piece I cut off? This piece that I cut off, I guess I could put on here, align that. Sorry. I thought it was all ready to show you my great tips. So you're going to see how I kind of work things out. And so because I moved it, I'm not exactly sure where I was. I'm just going to align this little valley kind of about there. And so I know it was on that line. So now I can go my other 4 lines and be over here. All right. So I like that look a lot too, with more of a spacing. I'll do one more just to see what the different spacings are going to be. And this one I'll do, how about we do 6 lines, and we'll start with the inside, or the line it up with the side to start, and then I'm going to go over 6 lines. Counting is hard. 6 lines. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You might want, if you're going to do a lot of these, you might want to put numbers on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the end right here. And if you ran out of paper, I think you could, you know, flip it over. Then I'd have to go the other way. I don't know. I guess we have to patch that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this one didn't quite line up. I was hoping it would give me just the edge, but that's a nice little decorative edge. And if you wanted to, you could turn around and cut this on the other side. Let's see, we'll do it at 1.5. And I want these to line up, so I'm going to flip this over so I can punch from the back. Yeah, this way. So that I can use those same measurements where I start right here. And then I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually a little bit easier because right now I can see where I want this valley to kind of line up. So line up with the paper and the valley. Paper. So this way I know it's exactly, and they're going to line up together, but I don't have to, it's a little bit less fiddly. I can just do it like this. We'll do last one right there. Okay, so there you go. This would be a great border. Wouldn't that be a nice border with some, you know, like you could put little squares in there, little embellishments. I think that works great to be a border. So I hope this has given you some ideas about how to measure to make a border. A couple other fun things you can do. You can make a file folder. One of my Zoom croppers yesterday on my weekly Zoom crop gave me this idea. Let's do this paper, and I'm going to do a 5-inch wide because I don't want to have to pull out my arm. Except I have to pull out my arm to get it the right size. So let's see. That's going to be 5. I'll do 5.5 because it's about 8.5 inches wide. And then I'm going to fold it so that I have a 1/2 inch border. Actually, I think I'm going to want it to be the other direction. And I'm going to do the same thing that we just did. I'm going to use the stripe this time. That's kind of cheating, I guess, but I'm just going to cut here. And then, I don't know how big the tab should be. How big is a file folder tab? I guess it just depends on how big you want how big your file folder is. But then I'm going to cut this off, and it's a little bit less than 1/2 inch, more than 5/8. I don't know. I can see right here where my cut line is, and I just want to, I'm going to line up the valley with whatever this mark is right here, so I know where to start my cut. And I'm going to go just over that 3/8 of an inch line. And that is the 9-inch, or the 6-inch, sorry. So I'm going to start at the 6 and just cut that off. And that gives me that cute little tab to be a file folder. This is probably not the best paper to use because that would be an obnoxious little file folder. But, you know, this could be a cute little pocket on your scrapbook layout or something like that. Actually, might want that a little bit shorter. And that was just me, how I folded it. But anyway, so you could just, you know, maybe punch this side first and then fold it. But then you could also take the other edge of this and round the corners. I think that gives it a nice little look, makes it more file folder-y. Okay, with the little rounded edges. All right, so that's a file folder. That was just an experiment. Now I'm going to take my measuring grid off and I'm going to show you how to use this to make a real envelope, not one of these hacks. This is the way it's really meant to work with the bow and the envelope. We'll start with the envelope, and let's pretend that I have a card that is a 4x4 card. First you start with the size of your card, and the directions tell you that. Determine the card size. So you can make your card first, or figure out what size your card is going to be, and then you can make the envelope. So actually, let's do one that's a little bit maybe more tricky, 4 by 5.5. Okay, so whatever size your card is, you move to this next line that says paper size, and you always want to start with a square. And so this is telling me I need to have 7 1/8. Nope, 7 7/8. Sorry, y'all. My eyes aren't what they used to be, and my phone doesn't want to focus in on that. So I need 7 7/8 square. So let's see what paper I have that I could cut a 7 7/8 inch square. I'll pull another piece out of this back to school paper. And when you're making an envelope, you want to make sure that whatever's on the outside, if you write on it, the post office will be able to read what you do. So you wouldn't want a super busy paper if you're going to put this in the mail. I think this would be okay for a card. So I need to cut my 7 7/8. Oh, you know what that means? That means I have to pull out the arm. All right, 7 7/8 is going to be right here, 7 7/8. So you do have to kind of remember how to count in eighths, or you might need to pick a card that you can use round numbers on. So here's my 7 7/8 inch square piece of paper. So now I'm going to come on here, my 4 by 5.5 inch card, and it's telling me that I should line it up on the punch guide at 3 3/8. Oops, sorry, little phone. All right, 3 3/8 for my 4 by 5.5 inch card. So I'm going to pull out in here the little stylus that you use for the envelope. I'm going to fold out the arms so that I have these where I need them. Take my 7 7/8 inch piece of paper and put it 3 3/8 right here on this side. So 3 and 1, 2, 3. 3 3/8 is what I want. 3 3/8. And then you take this stylus and you just follow the grooves on here. Don't press too hard because you can go through your paper, and you're going to kind of make this T across the top and the left side of your paper. All right, can you see those little grooves I've just made in the paper? Easier on the back maybe. But then you take this point that you lined up with a 3 3/8 and you want to use the opposite point. Sorry, I'm awfully close in today. So I'm going to take the same point, put it at the same place, 3 3/8, and do the exact same thing. One here and one here. And I'll show you in a minute what happens if you push too hard. I'll use a scrap, but so then you can see, I can see easily, maybe you guys can see too. There on the back, you can see. So I would want this to be the inside if I was going to put this in the mail, but it's easier to see the groove lines on here. Now is what this notch punch is made for, where we're going to line up the notch to cut that little valley out here to be able to fold our envelope. So I don't know if you guys can see it. That won't work. What color pen do I have handy? So you do not need to do this with a pen. I'm just doing this so that it will show up on the video. When you're cutting this yourself, you will be able to see these lines without too much trouble. I think I might have done it crooked because that does not seem very centered in the middle. 3 3/8, 7 7/8. We're gonna try it, see what happens. Nope, that doesn't punch. What have I done? Oh, I put it at 3 and, oh, I put it too far. Okay, I'm gonna go back over here, 3 3/8. Okay, maybe don't try to do a YouTube video while you're, okay, that's a little bit more centered, but now it's all messed up. Oh well. I'm gonna line this right here and punch. I'm gonna punch the right line, which is this one. This one. And that one was right. The first one was right. Okay. And now my envelope is the right shape. So you want it, it's going to need to look symmetrical when you're done. Now you can take the other side of this and round the corners. You don't have to, but it definitely looks nicer. Okay, and then I'm going to take my bone folder again. I'm going to fold on the correct lines and just crease that out with the bone folder. And then once you do this, you can easily make your envelope either kind of this traditional envelope way, or you can do it like a long skinny envelope. But you can see that these pieces are a little bit too long to close. And so what I have decided I like to do is just to tuck this down. Actually, if I do it on here on my grid, you could line this up on your trimmer, but just to kind of make it so that it's straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack this down. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on here. And depending on what you're going to do with it might determine how much adhesive you're going to want to use. If you're going to want to put this in the mail, you're going to want to use a little bit more. And you want to use regular adhesive, not repositionable, because you want this to be nice and strong. All right. So there's the envelope. And I would do the same thing. Actually, for this one, I probably would just snip off a little bit of the end so that the envelope closes nicely and doesn't poke off over the edge. Okay, so that's how you do the envelope. So finally, I think I would like to show you how to do the bow. And again, the directions for the bow are written on here. You don't need the little stylus for that. That can just go right back in its little home and just stores in there. But we're going to follow these directions here. So there are like 6 sizes of bow, extra small to double XL that you can do. And let's go ahead and we'll do the double XL bow just because it'll be easiest to see. Once again, the directions are here. I'm going to start with a paper that's 1.5 inches wide. I need one piece that's 10 inches long, one piece that's 5 1/4 inches long, and one piece that's 3/8 of an inch wide. So I'm going to pull out this same red from the Jazzberry. I'm going to start with that with my paper that's 1.5 inches. Whenever I cut less than 1 1/4 inches, I like to use this side of my trimmer so that all of this up here can help me keep my paper straight. It's just a little personal preference for me. So this was a 12-inch paper, and you guys know I hate to fold out my arm. So I need a piece that's 10 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the 2 inches off right here. And then I need a piece that's 5 1/4 inches. And that one's easy without having to fold out the arm, 5 1/4. And then the last piece needs to be 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 is a little bit tricky. It is this line right here. So it's just past that where the little mat comes in. So just line it up right with the edge of the grid. That's the only place you can see that 3/8 inch. It's going to be right here. It can't be right. Oh well, maybe it's right. Let's hope it's right. So let's hope that's the right thing, because otherwise this video is going to be a hot mess. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to do the notch punch. And I like to fold it. I don't know if that's how the real directions are. I'm going to fold my 10-inch piece in half. Just seemed like that's the easiest way to get it centered. I think you could draw a line or something. I don't know how you get it centered. So I'm going to line it up like we did before with that line. Punch. Punch. I have watched the how-to video that came from Creative Memories, but it was a few days ago, and I've been playing with this quite a bit since then. Okay, so this is piece A that I cut with the notch punch. I folded it, and then I just used the line to do all of that. So that's piece A that was 10 inches long. Now I'm going to take piece B, which was 5 1/4 inches, and this one I'm going to do the same thing. I think I'm going to fold it again. I don't know if you have to fold it again, but it just seems like that's easier to do it by folding it. So I'm going to punch again. This is the inside, but then instead of punching the center sideways to get this look, I'm going to put it in here. I'm just going to eyeball it to get the notch on the end. All right, so now I've got the notch on the end. And then wherever that little tiny piece is, that's all I need. So what you do is you take your piece A, put some adhesive, and you want to line up this notch. That's the secret right here, is to line up the notch. And it should just come together. If it overlaps a little bit, that's okay. What you want is the notch, the little valleys to line up together. Okay, so those are the little valleys that line up together. And then I'm going to take another piece right here and decide if I want to do my bow on top. I kind of wish the little base piece was a little bit longer actually. But again, line up those valleys so it all comes together with the bow. And then be generous with your adhesive around here. And this makes the little knot on the bow. And that's going to cover up where we folded it and go around. Okay, I'm not quite centered. All right, and go around and voila. So there's our little bow. All right, isn't that cute? Super easy to do. As you can see, this is like my second bow to make, and I feel like I maybe messed some stuff up, but it still turned out really cute. If you were going to put this on a scrapbook page and you're going to close your book, it might get squished, so you might want to put a couple like little foam squares in here so that when you close it, it still has some dimension. But you could put, if you're going to put this on a card or even on a present, you can just leave it as is. All right. So there's the bow, there's the envelope, and then all these fun little borders that we did. Oh, the file folder. I'm sure there are lots of other ideas, but I think my favorite is this border. But I kind of like that border, even though I did 2 different sizes. And I love that you have the option of doing a wavy. No, it's not showing up great against my grid paper, but a wavy or a pointy. So I hope that you will play with your envelope and bow creator and see what other things we can do with it. Having the punch on here with that line to brace it against, to cut straight, I think is going to be lots of fun. And then if you find some way to do the measurements so that you can make sure that your pieces are evenly spaced. Yeah, I probably could have done this skinnier, but you know, do this, do the lined paper, do some grid paper, some graph paper. You could do any kind of a stripe. I actually think if this wasn't going to make this video 100 years long, I was going to try it with the Showtime. I think that would be super fun with the Showtime. So thanks for watching. I hope that you will play with this. If you do, create some things using one of these techniques. If you finish off a border, I would love to see it. Please, please feel free to post it on or message it to me or share it on my Facebook at Nicole's Scrapbooks. Actually, there's an apostrophe in there where you go to Nicole's Scrapbooks on Facebook or Nicole's Scrapbook Friends if you're in my group. Nicole's Scrapbook Friends. So thanks for being one of my scrapbook friends. Thanks for watching my video and for all the love you guys always give me in the comments. I sure appreciate it. And have fun playing with your new tool. I love a new tool. I love finding many alternative uses for one tool to make them do lots of different things. And I think this one absolutely is going to fit the bill for that. So I may come up with like an actual finished border at some point, but I've only had this about 24 hours and was just super excited and wanted to get you guys excited about it too. So thanks so much. Happy scrapbooking, and we'll see you again soon.